Today we are presenting Consequences of Irrigation, Good and Bad by Thomas,
Rojas.
Ingrid Lopez.
And Jayden said,
Evolution of Irrigation. Irrigation began in ancient civilizations like Mesopotamia and Egypt, where farmers used canals and diverted river water to grow crops. Over centuries, technologies such as wells, aqueducts, and mechanical pumps allowed irrigation to expand into drier regions. Today, modern irrigation relies on drip systems and sensors that conserve water while maximizing crop production. Irrigation methods. Today, modern irrigation relies on efficient systems designed to conserve water and improve crop performance. Surface irrigation, such as furrow or flood irrigation, remains widely used. Drip trickle micro irrigation delivers water directly to plant roots, reducing evaporation and runoff, while sprinkler and center pivot systems distribute water across large fields with controlled coverage. Other irrigation methods include mist irrigation and sub-irrigation. Benefits of irrigation.
Some benefits of irrigation include battling climate change. As extreme weather becomes increasingly common, developing strong adaptations for irrigation and agriculture is essential. Adaptations to practice provide a lifeline for crops by helping them survive extreme conditions such as heat and drought. One of the more important effects is the cooling provided by evapotranspiration, which increases air moisture and cools local daytime temperatures. This results in more resilient plants that yield more under challenging conditions. Other practices, such as better water retention, can help the overall health of the agroecosystem. These strategies support sustainable farming and help crops stay strong in our ever-changing climate. Green spaces are essential not only for our mental health, but also for the ecosystem and wildlife. Without irrigation, these green spaces would not exist, and we would not be able to live here because of the little rainfall and inconsistent weather in California. Proper irrigation improves soil health. When water is applied evenly and slowly to these spaces, they can retain moisture, allowing plants to be more robust and grow stronger. In addition, this helps keeps moisture levels steady, avoiding dry spots, reduces plant stress, and encourages better growing conditions. Benefits from irrigation include reduced weed growth. When water hits the roots directly, it prevents weed seeds from spreading, making them harder to spread. Green spaces also help with irrigation such as rain gardens. These rain gardens collect stormwater runoff, helping take the pressure off irrigation systems and allowing natural water to be captured. The gardens then filter the water through the soil and plant roots, which help prevent pollutants from being washed into rivers and storm drains. Irrigation allows multiple cropping, allowing more than one crop at a time to be planted in the same land in the same year, which helps with increased food security. Irrigation allows these plants to thrive regardless of drought. When these are brought together, farming becomes much more productive. A significant benefit is reducing crop losses during drought. When it hardly rains, irrigation allows growers to water these crops, preventing them from losing their crops all at once. It allows for increased harvests and better land use, revitalizing unfarmable land and increasing crop variety and food availability. Irrigation supports crops by giving them specific amounts of water when they need it. Different types of irrigation, such as drip irrigation, help produce healthier and more protected crops. Drip irrigation prevents plant diseases such as mildew and bacterial leaf spots. With overhead watering, water falls on leaves, keeping them wet and creating the perfect environment for various diseases to spread. With drip irrigation, water is delivered slowly and directly to the roots, allowing leaves to stay dry and roots to stay strong, which minimizes disease transmission.
Smart irrigation use. Due to due to smart irrigation systems, we can use irrigation on difficult areas such as slopes or rocky areas. Drip lines may prevent excessive runoff by releasing water slowly into soil. Can be used on trees, vines, row crops, providing greater control over placement and quantity, so each plant receives the right amount of moisture. Smart irrigation methods increase water use efficiency, supports healthier and more uniform crop growth. Disadvantages of irrigation. Upkeep of irrigation. Irrigation supports crop growth and green spaces, but has disadvantages. Irrigation systems can be costly to install and maintain, especially in areas with limited water. They may also become clogged by precipitates such as limestone, iron, algae, or slime. Exposure to natural elements such as sun and heat can wear and tear the system. Wildlife can damage nozzles, hoses, wires, and tubing by chewing on them.
Another big problem of irrigation is the loss of groundwater. And groundwater is used for irrigating plants, industrial processing, and is often used as drinking water for societies. And groundwater is depleted faster than it can replenish, causing it to be inaccessible by communities using systems not as deep. And this can include things like wells or just a very shallow pump that usually industrial companies can access. And even though that we do have watersheds across California, the groundwater is not being replenished fast enough for for the loss of groundwater to not be noticeable. And as we do lose more groundwater, land subsidence becomes a rising problem, as more water becomes missing from the ground. Buildings, infrastructures, and other man-made structures like roads or like maybe even Knott's Berry Farm gets destroyed and damaged because our land is slowly shrinking and it moves our top surface in ways that weren't intended to be moved. Another really big problem is water runoff. And water runoff is basically any source of water picking up things and moving them around. This includes sediments, excess nutrients, and chemicals like herbicides and pollutants from cars. Irrigation runoff from farms can carry fertilizers and other harmful chemicals. The runoff can end up in oceans or rivers, which can be harmful to aquatic life and other ecosystems. And this becomes a bigger problem when it is over irrigated and it doesn't penetrate the soil correctly. Focusing more on the damage to the ecosystem, excess fertilizers and nutrients often end up in other water sources that aquatic life live in. Rivers and other freshwater sources will eventually have algae blooms that will eventually overcrowd and kill other life forms in it. And these algae blooms create hypoxic oxygen dead zones as they die and decompose, destroying the aquatic ecosystems. And in the photo of the right, we can see a photo of like this bird, this duck, and algae is slowly overcrowding freshwater sources, and it kills other organisms living in it, making it so it's difficult for that duck to get food that it needs. Lastly, another big problem that we have is salt accumulation. And salt accumulation happens when fertilizers are over applied and not used correctly. The water used puts salts in the soil. The water that we use has calcium and it usually puts more salts in our soil. And if we don't water our soil enough, it won't leach out of the soil. And this can cause an imbalance of nutrients and ruins the soil texture. California has a lot of calcium in its groundwater and is used to irrigate everything, which causes a calcium accumulation in the soil. Now, this can increase the pH in the soil, which may decrease the availability of other nutrients. And this becomes a problem because plants often need a very diverse amount of nutrients, and they prefer a slightly acidic soil. In addition, salt accumulation also depends on the soil texture, as more coarse sand soils will allow it to leach out quickly, while more clay soils will have more of a salt accumulation and will hold on to those nutrients more tightly. And these are our sources.
Thank you for listening to our presentation of irrigation, good and bad.
Thank you.
Thank you.